All right, guys, we're still on functions today, but something new, something called domain and range. And just a reminder, a function is a pairing of numbers in which each input has exactly one output. All right, and there's a new vocab word called domain. Domain is the set of all the inputs, or the x's. And then range is a word that describes all of the outputs, or the y's. Okay, so the domain is the x's and the range is the y's. And that's important to know. So, if you guys are given a table of inputs and outputs, can you write the domain and the range? So, remember, we just said domain is a list of all the inputs. So, if this row is your inputs, literally for domain, you just write these numbers, 10, 12, 13, and 17. Those numbers are in the domain. And then the range is the outputs. So if this row represents the outputs, those are your range. So 19.99, 23.99, 25.99, and 33.98. It's just a list of numbers in the input and output. Okay, but now I'm going to make you guys work. All right, for this one. So this one, they tell you a function, okay, and they give you a list of numbers for the domain. Okay, so they already gave you the answer here. 0, 2, 5, 7, and 8. They already gave you the domain. And remember, the domain is just the inputs. So I'm also going to put them here. Now, how do we find the range? Well, if we give you a function, y equals 2x, then in order to find y, you just have to multiply x by 2. All right? So, like when x is 0, what is 2 times 0? Well, that's 0. When x is 2, y is going to be, what's 2 times 2? That's 4. When x is 5, y is going to be 2 times 5, which is 10. When x is 7, y is going to be 2 times 7, which is 14. And when x is 8, y is going to be 2 times 8, which is 16. And then remember, the outputs are just the range, so you can copy those down here, and you're done. All right, let's try number 3. So same thing. They give you a function, and they give us the domain. So 0, 2, 3, 6, and 7, that's the domain. And remember, the domain is also the inputs. So 0, 2, 3, 6, and 7. All right, our job is to find the y's, which is the outputs and the range. So all you got to do is plug it in. So when x is 0, y is going to be 0 plus 4, and that's 4. When x is 2, y is going to be 2 plus 4, which is 6. When x is 3, y is going to be 3 plus 4, which is 7. When x is 6, y is going to be 6 plus 4, which is 10. And when x is 7, y is going to be 7 plus 4, which is 11. So if those are your outputs, those also become the numbers in the range. All right, so not too bad. Okay, flip it over, and we're going to do something a little bit harder here. Find the domain and the range given a graph with a bunch of points. All right, and here's how you guys do this. All right, so everybody write down domain, D for domain. Okay, remember domain is all of the x's, right? So domain is all of the x's. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to make a bracket, and you're going to find all the x values that the graph hits from left to right. So we're going to cut this graph off at the ends here and here. All right, that's the domain. This number is -2, and this number here is 3. So that means in the x direction, the graph covers all the numbers between -2 and 3. You just look at your two x values where the graph cuts off. That's the domain. Now for the range, we're looking at the y's. So find where the graph cuts off at the bottom and the top. And those are going to be your y's for the range. Okay, so what is the lowest point the graph hits? The lowest the graph ever gets is -1. And then what is the highest the graph ever hits? The highest it ever gets is +1. So domain, you're looking from left to right in the x's, and range, you're looking from lowest to highest in the y's. All right, let's try one more. This is kind of a challenge, I know. All right, for the x's, cut the graph off on the left and the right, and tell me what x values the graph covers. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is -5. And, okay, this is 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is +5. So in the x direction, the graph covers -5 to 5. Now let's do the range. The range, we look at the y's. So find the lowest it goes, and then find the highest it goes. And that's going to be your range values. All right, so what's the lowest point the graph ever hits? It's down at -3. And then what's the highest point the graph ever hits? That's up at +3. So that means your range covers from -3 to +3. All right, nice job, guys. Let me know if you have questions. That's domain and range.